You know when you look at something that seems totally random? Like, I don't know, static on an old TV or the way a river churns. And you just can't help but wonder, is there something else going on in there? A hidden message? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be detectives, and our mission is to uncover the beautiful, hidden order hiding in plain sight inside what we call chaos. Okay, so here's our first piece of evidence. This messy, jagged line you're looking at, this is actual data from a laser experiment. I mean, it just looks like pure noise, doesn't it? Kind of like a radio tuned between stations. And for a really long time, that's exactly what scientists thought it was, just a bunch of junk. And that right there, that is the central mystery we're investigating today. Is this signal truly random, just a meaningless jumble of errors? Or is it something way more profound? A complex message written in a language we just haven't figured out how to read yet. Let's dive in. So, our story really kicks off at a time when most scientists would see data like this and, well, they'd run in the other direction. For decades, studying these complex, nonlinear systems was pretty much seen as a dead end. If your experiment produced a signal this messy, it wasn't a discovery, it was a failure. I mean, just think about that for a second. We're talking about potentially groundbreaking experiments just tossed aside, forgotten. Data that held the keys to a whole new field of science was literally thrown in the trash. Why? Because it was all just chalked up to a broken machine. Or, hey, maybe they even blamed it on some poor grad student. But here's the thing. The data wasn't the problem. The scientists just didn't have the right tools to read what it was saying. Right, so as people started getting more interested in this whole chaos thing, the first generation of investigative tools started to pop up. But these early methods, they were kind of like trying to solve a murder with nothing but some really blurry security footage. They could tell you something happened, but they couldn't tell you how or why. And you can see the difference right here. On the left, you've got the old tools, things like fractal dimension estimates. They just gave you a single, kind of blurry snapshot. But on the right, that's the new approach, topological analysis. The difference is like knowing a crime happened versus having the culprit's unique fingerprint, revealing the entire method behind the madness. So here's the deal. These early tools had some serious limitations. For one, they needed huge amounts of perfectly clean data, which, let's be real, almost never happens in the real world. And even after all that work, they just spit out a single number, like a fractal dimension. No error bars, no way to double check it, and absolutely no clue how to actually model what was going on underneath. So yeah, they proved chaos was there, but they couldn't explain how it worked. So the big breakthrough, it didn't come from some fancy new technology. It came from a century-old idea, rediscovered from the work of the absolute genius Henri Poincaré. He left behind a clue that pointed investigators in a completely radical new direction. Poincaré's insight was just brilliant. He realized the secret wasn't in the stable, predictable parts of a system. No, he said the secret, the breach into the supposedly inaccessible world, was to study the unstable periodic orbits. These are like the ghostly paths the system could take, but doesn't stick with for very long. It turns out these fleeting, unstable orbits, they form a kind of skeleton. They're the hidden framework that all the wild, chaotic motion is organized around. So while the chaos might look totally unpredictable from one moment to the next, it's actually always constrained by this invisible architecture. Okay, so if these unstable orbits are the skeleton, then what's the mechanism that brings the whole thing to life? Well, it turns out the modus operandi of chaos is a surprisingly simple, repeating action. It's something you've probably even done in your own kitchen. It all boils down to two simple actions: stretching and squeezing. Seriously, that's it. Just picture yourself kneading dough or pulling taffy. Stretching is what creates chaos's most famous party trick, that extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. The tiniest differences get blown up exponentially. But if it only stretched, things would just fly apart. That's where squeezing comes in. It folds everything back, keeps the system from flying off to infinity, and makes sure the patterns are always recurring, even if they never repeat exactly. This whole thing just works in a simple loop. Step 1, you stretch the space, pulling nearby points way far apart. Step 2, you squeeze or fold it back onto itself. And step 3, you just repeat that over and over and over. This endless process is what generates that infinitely detailed, complex object we call a strange attractor. So now we know the culprit's MO, right? It's all about the stretching and squeezing. So what we need now is a modern forensic toolkit that can actually dust for its fingerprints and finally reveal that hidden skeleton. And that new toolkit is called topological analysis. And let me tell you, it's a total game changer. It lets us look at messy, real-world data and pull out the essential geometric structure, that stretching and squeezing mechanism, while totally ignoring all the distracting noise. This method is just incredibly powerful. It can definitively classify all these different types of strange attractors. And, get this, for the first time ever, it has built-in rejection criteria. It's a way for it to check its own work to see if the analysis is actually consistent. It doesn't just give you a number, it gives you the actual blueprint of the chaos itself. All right, we've followed all the clues, we've uncovered the motive, stretching and squeezing, and we have our modern forensic toolkit. Now, it's time for the final, stunning reveal. And case closed. That chaotic laser data from the very beginning, it's not random at all. It's governed by a precise geometric structure called a template. Every single chaotic system, whether it's a laser or a chemical reaction, has its own unique topological fingerprint that dictates its behavior. The chaos, it's an illusion. Underneath it all lies a profound and beautiful order. But the story gets even weirder. These fingerprints, these templates, they're not just isolated little curiosities. The rules that govern how things become chaotic are shockingly universal. They pop up again and again in completely unrelated systems. Which brings us to one of the universe's secret cheat codes, Feigenbaum's constant. This number, 4.669, etc., describes the exact rate at which a system doubles its period on the road to becoming chaotic. And here's the crazy part. It is the same number whether you're looking at a fluid, an electric circuit, or a biological system. It's a fundamental constant of nature, just like pi. This quote just perfectly captures how the scientific community felt. I mean, it was a complete and utter shock. All of a sudden, the messy, unpredictable world of nonlinear systems wasn't this untamed jungle anymore. It was a place with deep, hidden structures and universal laws that were there the whole time, just waiting for someone to look at them in the right way. And that leaves us with a final, really tantalizing thought. We found the hidden skeleton in the chaos of a laser beam. Okay, cool. But what about the chaos of the stock market or the firing of neurons inside our own brains? What about the complex dance of ecosystems? What other seemingly random parts of our world are out there, just waiting for us to find their beautiful hidden order?